Some call it two-poi one-hand, some call it meteor, I call it awesome. Drex here from DrexFactor.com, and today I'm drilling down my top 5 favorite two-poi one-hand moves. Before we dive in, I just want to give a shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Flow Toys, Pyroterra Light Toys, LMF Props, Spinballs, and Ultrapoi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all these awesome companies and the work they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by following the links that I've got down in the description of this video. So two-poi one-hand wasn't really a thing when I first got into poi. There were people that spun poi and people that spun meteor, but with a couple notable exceptions, there was very little crossover between the two. Why was that? Well, the biggest reason was that it was most common to use double or single loop handles at the time. And if you were using these handles properly, they made it impossible to switch your grip. No grip switch, no adding another poi to the same hand. But all that changed when contact poi cut on. Suddenly, ball handles good for throws and contact became standard, and with that, the capacity to easily grip two poi in the same hand. And thus, a whole new school of tricks emerged based around the possibilities that this opened up. Well, kinda new. Okay, for the most part, we were just copying tricks that meteor hammer spinners, glow stringers, and even the original Maori poi spinners had been doing for ages. Wow. We were really sleeping on this stuff, weren't we? So with all that said, and now many years of two-poi one-hand integrated into the poi world, here are my picks for the top 5 two-poi one-hand or meteor tricks. Number 5. Weaves. So this is definitely the first port of call for nearly anyone who explores spinning with two poi in the same hand. You can consider this an extension of the weaves that we start with when we have only one poi in a given hand. It's also an interesting lesson in symmetry. So when I do a 2-beat weave with two hands, it feels a little lopsided. This is because the same hand is leading going back and forth. We can make it feel more symmetrical by switching to a 3-beat weave, where we switch off which hand is leading on each side. But when you're performing a weave with only one hand, it now feels more symmetrical to perform the 2-beat. After all, there's only one hand here, so there's no need to switch off anymore, right? And interestingly enough, also wrong. We're so used to thinking of all our spinning as being thumb side driven that when we do one-handed weaves, we often forget that there's still a second poi involved. Ironically, you can actually perform a 3-beat meteor weave by switching between thumb lead and pinky lead. But bizarrely, this feels asymmetrical because we're so used to focusing on our thumb ends. And of course, this barely scratches the surface of how we talk about these thumb lead and pinky lead weaves, how we turn between them, and add or subtract beats. Chris Rovo has done a great series talking about the intricacies of these weaves that I'll link to down in the description. I've also toyed with the idea of doing my own series exploring these ideas. Is that something you'd like to see me tackle? Let me know, down in the comments. Number 4, the one-handed spiral wrap. So I'll confess, this is totally my bias showing through because I love this trick and I can't stop doing it. Spiral wraps are gorgeous and make for an amazing way to end a combo, punctuate a beat, or even wow your audience. Taking that same concept into a one-handed space is kind of a no-brainer. And as it turns out, they make for a really cool transition tool as well. At the moment when a spiral wrap completes, you can actually switch the plane you're operating in. It's not technically plane breaking or bending because there's no stall or crosspoint involved, but it sure does look cool. One trick I picked up from the master of meteor himself, Andy House, is actually to pause for effect every time the wrap completes. This adds some great dynamics and stillness to your spinning, plus which it looks steezy as hell. I actually use this particular trick a lot to finish off combos or performances. In fact, I probably use it a little too much. But can you blame me? Number 3, the one-handed Superman. So this is the first trick on this list that we explicitly stole from glow stringers instead of meteor spinners. And we're not giving it back. No, seriously, I don't know what I would do without it at this point. The one-handed Superman, which we usually just call a Superman, involves bouncing the pinky end poi back and forth as you perform a 2-beat weave with your thumb end. And it's actually deceptively difficult. You have to pull that pinky end poi tight across your waist to keep its momentum going back and forth in the trick. You can also add a single beat to either side, creating either a 3 or 4-beat Superman that's great for integrating into 3 poi tricks. And of course, it's given rise to an entire taxonomy of one-handed tricks named after superheroes, which makes my little nerd heart happy. The Fantastic Four, Kryptonite, Supergirl, hey, I could do a whole list just on this family of tricks alone. Number 2, the one-handed butterfly. So this is one that I actually think we owe a debt to our Maori trailblazers for giving us. It is the two-poi one-hand trick that I see most often come up in traditional Maori performances, and it's pretty easy to see why. I mean, butterflies look pretty cool just in themselves, but there's no doubt that something magical seems to happen when you see them done in just one hand. I'll also say that the one-handed butterfly is an absolutely essential tool for really drilling your plane control with two-poi one hand. I'm fond of flattening out the planes into horizontals so that they're spinning in split time if you look at them from above, and then stretching them back up into a butterfly. Want even more of a challenge? The split time one-handed butterfly is calling your name. In addition to looking super cool, this trick is also a very necessary stepping stone for getting down the one-handed Mercedes, Zan's Diamond, and for developing your ability to do stalls in a two-poi one-hand place. Butterflies. We totally underestimate how useful they are, but in two-poi one-hand land, they're like a Swiss Army knife. Number 1, flowers. So, fun fact. Technically, we've already covered these on this list. Did you miss them? Well, I'm about to blow your mind. Remember when we talked about one-handed weaves? Well, it turns out that when you switch back and forth across your body with these in a one-handed waist strap, something very magical happens. You've started to perform a flattened flower. See, by moving your hand back and forth across the x-axis of your body, you've added part of the movement needed to transform these weaves into flowers. The other part is to add movement in the y-axis. Once you do this, you'll discover those weaves you've been playing with are really just a body tracing flower. Who knew? My preferred approach to these is to use a 2-beat thumb lead weave on my forward side and a 2-beat pinky lead weave on my reverse side. I actually did a tutorial on this in my Gunslinger 101 series a few years ago that I'll link y'all to. A gunslinger is basically just a short meteor, so the techniques to learn this are exactly the same in both cases. So those were my picks for the top 5 two-poi one-hand tricks. I actually came up with a really long list of tricks as I was brainstorming for this video. So if you want to see a follow-up, please let me know down in the comments. And of course, let me know what your favorite two-poi one-hand trick is. If you dug this video and you'd like to see more like it in the future, please hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell. This guarantees that you'll see my new videos when they come out. And before I set you all loose, I'd love to give a massive thank you to all my wonderful supporters on Patreon. They make this video and all the videos on this channel possible. If you'd like to sign up to support the work that I do, please head on over to patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi and sign up. You'll get access to all my videos before the rest of the world, plus a host of great rewards, including a say in what content I cover on my channel. Thank you so much in advance.